Hi, and welcome back to Cooking New Jersey. My name is Joe, and this is my YouTube channel about cooking with ingredients sourced right here from the state of New Jersey, where I live. It's Sunday, and today I'm going to make a curry, and I'm going to use ingredients that I found at my local farmer's market, as well as a couple of local farms right nearby. So let's talk about our chicken first. This is from Goffle Road Poultry Farm. They're a multi-generational family poultry farm in Wyckoff. They've been there for years. I asked the butcher to cut down a bird for me so it would fit into my Dutch oven. We'll saute these off early on and then add them back into the pot with our curry sauce and all the other vegetables that we're going to use. The star of the show today is going to be this Shahi Masala. This is from Bebe's All Natural. They're in South Amboy, and they were at the Ramsey Farmers Market where I picked this up. The owner recommended that I cut this curry sauce down with a little bit of dairy, so I'll probably cut this down with some milk as well as some chicken stock. I'm going to be using Springhouse Creamery. This is a New Jersey dairy, so I'll be cutting it down with this whole milk. It's 100% whole milk, and some homemade chicken stock that I have, and this is on another YouTube video that I have where I make some stock. So I don't really know so much about curry, and I've never really heard of Shahi Masala, so I'm going to taste it real quick, and then I'm just going to formulate in my mind what I'd like to add to it. Wow, yum. So the vegetables I had today come from Abma's farm. So we have carrots, we've got onion and garlic. This garlic they grow in the farm in the wintertime. I think it goes in the greenhouse, but this is straight off Abma's farm. Also today, as usual, we have our Salty Acres salt. They're out of Cape May, New Jersey. In addition, I have a little chardonnay from Tomasello Vineyards. They're a New Jersey winemaker. I got this at Abma's farm where they have a tasting room, and I don't know that I'm going to cook with this today, but as I always say, wine makes everything better. Okay, so let's get busy. First thing we're going to do is dice up some onion, season our chicken, and then saute that off before it all goes in the Dutch oven along with our curry sauce. The first thing we're going to do is pour out a little Chardonnay and clean up our vegetables. Do not come at me for my cutting skills. I am not a chef and I'm barely a cook, so I am learning on the job. I never really liked the outer couple of layers of the onion, not just the brown skin, but also the layer underneath that. It always comes across as thin and doesn't cook up well, so I usually just take that off and toss it. And we're going to dice up a bit of this onion for sauteing in the pan before we put in our chicken to saute, but prior to going into the Dutch oven, and that's largely just for some great onion and chicken flavor. Also some garlic will go in there. We'll see that in a sec. And then the other half of this onion we're just going to roughly cut, and that will go just into the Dutch oven once everything's all put together, and that will just cook down and sweeten up, and that will be something you can fork up once it's all done. I got these little potatoes at Abma's farm. They were starchy and delicious. Cutting off our scrubbed up carrot tops, those are great for, you don't want to feed those to animals, by the way, they can be poisonous, but they do compost well, so throw them in your composter. I've had a composter on my property for 15 years now, and it is just great. I sieve out the small stuff and throw the big stuff back in for more cooking, and I use it for my planters in the spring. Pat down your chicken, get any moisture off, flip them over, and do the same. Remember, this is a whole chicken. This is not chicken parts bought at the supermarket. This is a whole chicken cut down, so you do have some rib meat in there, more bones than you would normally have. You might have some neck bone in there as well. It's all going to cook down, and I really did want that marrow to cook out of this. So again, salt and pepper on both sides, and get that ready to go into the skillet. Some olive oil to start the process off, get that all over the pan. And in go garlic and then onions. And I feel like I start every meal this way. Virtually everything I cook starts out with me sauteing some onions and some garlic somehow. I could be making chocolate chip pancakes for my kids' Saturday morning breakfast, and it would start out with me sauteing some onions and garlic and olive oil. It just makes the kitchen smell so good. All right, we want these to go semi-translucent, and we're actually going to move these off to the side and move them into a bowl to be added back to the Dutch oven later. Okay, and now we're going to lay down our chicken skin side down And again, this is really not for cooking. This is to get some color into the chicken, but also really to get some flavor, get that salt and pepper seared in and into the chicken while it's cooking. It can be tough to season chicken. It needs to be cooked thoroughly and all the way through, and then seasoned deeply over time. Otherwise, all you're really getting is flavor from the skin of the chicken. And so this is just the first step in getting this ready to go into the Dutch oven. We flip everything over, make sure it gets a decent bit of cooking on both sides. And again, we're not trying to cook this through, we're just trying to get some color on it and some flavor on it. And in the end, I did decide to deglaze this pan with Tomasello Chardonnay. There was just so much love and goodness in the bottom of this pan that I just wanted to get that up and go ahead and add that back to the curry sauce when we assemble our curry once we have the sauce prepared. Speaking of which, I've got my stainless mixing bowl here, and I'm going to pop in my masala. As it turns out, Shahi means grand. And what that really refers to is that this has nuts in it. In this particular case, this curry has cashew nuts in it. And those cashew nuts were something that I was told that were not available to those of more modest means in traditional India. And so Shahi, meaning grand, means that it came with nuts, which I presume were a more expensive ingredient to put into your curry. So I've added a little bit of dairy into the curry mix, and you might see some milk solids in there. The milk I put in here is straight off the farm. It is not, as far as I can tell, homogenized, so you have to shake it up to mix it, and every once in a while you might just get some heavy cream off the top that gets into your mix. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I think it's delicious. We add our the contents of our deglazed pan straight into our Dutch oven. And then we'll go ahead and begin to layer in our components of this. I want the chicken on the bottom of the pan so they get the benefit of all of the curry sauce on the sides and top, and the garlic and onion and deglazed white wine on the bottom of the pan. Get in there, you rascal. And everything fits, believe it or not. All 8 pieces of the chicken nicely directly in the bottom of this Dutch oven and give me plenty of room to spare to work with. Here goes our curry and dairy and chicken stock mix. That chicken stock I made from another Goffle Road Poultry Farm chicken. That's in another episode of Cooking New Jersey on my YouTube channel. If it's not there yet, it'll be there soon. In go our carrots and our potatoes and our onions. And we just try and pat all that down inside of the curry sauce. Now, I want this to reduce by at least a quarter. Lid goes on. There we go. In for 4 hours. So that's it. I'm going to turn it down to simmer, let it do its thing for a few hours, make some rice around dinner time, and then we'll serve it over rice. I wish you could smell my kitchen. It smells fantastic. I wish it was my work, but in fact, it's the work of this curry sauce. Okay, it's been about 4 hours on the stove, and it's now time to plate up. Here's a great example of getting a little bit too cute while you've got time with food cooking on the stove. I decided I wanted to serve this over lentils, so I went to the supermarket and bought some and cooked them up and announced to the family that we were having curry over lentils, and there were howls of disapproval. So I went back to also cooking up some rice. That's Japanese short grain sushi rice that we're using today. And put both in the bottom of the bowl. And look at this chicken. It just sort of peels off the bone, almost like I guess like a pulled pork or something like that. It's been cooking for 4 hours. The meat comes out. The bones stay inside the Dutch oven. There's a lot of chicken here, more than enough for 4 people in my family. We did have a little bit of leftovers. So it made plenty, and that's just one whole chicken cut up. Of course, everybody's got a little bit of potatoes and carrots, and I don't really care if you don't like carrots. You're going to get some anyway in this family. Curry sauce over the top, and that is how I plated up our Shahi Masala curry. It was delicious. Hey, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you here next time on Cooking New Jersey.